Good morning, students. Right now we will talk about the experiment number 2, demonstration of experiment number 2, which is on op-amp circuits, linear applications. We will have another part where we will worry about we will do the non-linear applications also. So under this linear applications we have 4 parts. The first part will be on inverting amplifier. The second part, part B, will be on non-inverting amplifier. Part C will be on difference amplifier, and part D we will see an application of difference amplifier where we will plot the VI characteristics of diode, a xenon diode and an LED using our difference amplifier. So right now we will see part A, the inverting amplifier. So what we see here on the breadboard is inverting amplifier. The circuit diagram is shown here. So what we have is basically we have the feedback resistance, which is 10 kilo ohm, and the input resistance R1 is 1 kilo ohm. Therefore the gain is 10. And being an inverting amplifier, we will see that there will be a gain of 10. Vout will be 10 times the input, but there will be a phase difference of 180 degrees between input and output. That's why it's called an inverting amplifier. So let us see the circuit diagram. So we have the 741 operation amplifier which is used here, and we have RF, the feedback resistance, connected as 10 kilo ohm, and the input resistance R1 connected as 1 kilo ohm. And we have used 12 volts supply. So the supply is plus minus 12 volts, and right now it's about 11.9, and this is a tracking power supply. Now let's see what we will get at the output and with respect to the input. So what I have here on channel 1 on the top is basically the input signal, which you can see the scale of channel 1 is 500 millivolt, and there are 2 divisions here, which means the peak to peak is 1 volt. Now what you see here on the bottom is the output, and the scale of on channel 2, and the scale of channel 2 is 5 volt. There are 2 divisions, therefore the output is 10 volt. So you see that input is 1 volt peak to peak, output is 10 volt peak to peak. So the gain of 10 is satisfied. Look carefully at the phase. You can see that when the input is on the positive peak, the output is at the negative peak. And you can see therefore there is a phase difference of 180 degrees. That's why it's called an inverting amplifier. Let's look at the inverting amplifier and see where you generally use this. Why do you need an inverting amplifier and a non-inverting amplifier? If you look at the circuit, you'll see that because of the virtual ground property, the pin number 3, the non-inverting input of the op-amp, is connected to ground. Because of the virtual ground, pin number 2, the inverting input also will be at 0 volts or ground potential. Because of that, what is going to happen is the input resistance seen by the source. Right now we have taken the function generator as to supply the signal. So the source would see R1 as the input resistance. Or another way of looking at it is, how do you define input resistance? When you connect a source, you see how much current is taken from the source. In this particular case, since the one end of R1 is connected to the source, which is the function generator, and the other end is a ground potential. So we'll see that this R1 is essentially the input resistance. Now in this particular case, the input resistance is 1K, which is the resistance offered by this amplifier to the source. This unfortunately is very low. Now if I want to increase, generally if you want to use this particular circuit as a voltage amplifier, you need to have R1 as high as possible. So someone might say that I can keep on increasing R1 and accordingly increase RF. But the problem is, let's say if I want to have a gain of let's say 100, and if I increase this 1K, let's say, to 100 kilo ohms, then in order to get a gain of 100, this RF should be 10 mego. But the input resistance of a practical op amp is of the order of about 1 kilo in the without feedback. So therefore, typically an op amp, you should not use any resistors which are more than, let's say, a few mego. So therefore, this particular circuit is not good as a voltage amplifier. But at the same time, this is an extremely good circuit if your input is current. From your Norton equivalent circuit of a source, we know that if your input is current and you would like R1 to be as small as possible, and you see that if your input is current, this can even be a short circuit, R1 can be 0, even then this circuit will work. And we know from the theory that the entire current flowing in this resistance, or even if this is short here, will flow through RF. So therefore, this is an excellent circuit if you want to convert a current to a voltage, and this is a very commonly used circuit whenever you have a photo detector and you want to convert the output of the photo detector, that current, into a voltage. So this is a good circuit when you want to use this as a current to voltage converter. But this is not a good circuit when you are talking about a voltage amplifier. Now we will see part B of this experiment, where we will see how a non-inverting amplifier works. So what we see here is a circuit diagram. Now in the previous case, when we did the inverting amplifier, the input was given through a resistance R1 to the inverting amplifier. Here you see that in that case, in the case of inverting amplifier, the non-inverting input, the plus input here, was grounded. In a non-inverting amplifier, you will give your input directly to this non-inverting input of the op amp. Now look at the connection to the inverting input. You see that resistance R1 is now grounded on the other side, and the midpoint between RF and R1 is connected to the inverting input, just like the previous case. So this is a non-inverting amplifier, and so once again, if you look at the output, you see that two things you see. Number one, we know that the gain of a non-inverting amplifier is 1 plus RF plus R1, and in this case the gain is 1 plus RF by R1. So in this particular case, RF by R1 is 10, therefore the gain is 11. So you see that on the oscilloscope, the channel 1, which is on the top, has two divisions which has not changed, and it is 1 volt peak to peak. And channel 2, you have the output, and you can see that the output is about 11.4 volts and the input about 1.04. So you can see the gain is roughly about 11, and definitely more than 10. Now just like I said last time, we said when we talked about the inverting amplifier, we said inverting amplifier is not good as a voltage amplifier. But look, in this particular case, your input is connected now to the non-inverting input, or the plus input of the op amp. And we know that in the case of an ideal op amp, there is no current flowing into the op amp. Now even in an open loop case, the typical input current flowing into the op amp is of the order of about 100 nanoamp. But with negative feedback, that impedance becomes extremely high. So in a non-inverting amplifier, the input resistance which you would see here is extremely high. It would be 1 plus A beta, where which is the factor by which it gets multiplied, and it will be much higher. I mean several tens or even up to about 100 megohm kind of order. So therefore, this is an excellent circuit as a voltage amplifier. So whenever you have a voltage amplifier circuit, the non-inverting amplifier is the right solution. But and here therefore the current drawn from the source would be, you can always neglect, because the current flowing will be much less than a nanoamp. So therefore, whenever you have a application where your output of the sensor or the source is very low and you need to ensure that hardly any current is drawn from the source, then non-inverting amplifier is the solution. So in summary, what we said is both inverting amplifier and non-inverting amplifier can be used if you have if there is no restriction on the input resistance requirement. But if you have restriction, or if you want to have a very high input resistance for an application, then non-inverting amplifier is the solution. An inverting amplifier is used whenever your input is current, then inverting amplifier is used. So that's how these two amplifiers are used. And the difference is not just the inversion, but the input characteristics and the impedance are very different. So we will see part C of experiment 2, where we have the third type of difference amplifier. Now the inverting amplifier and the non-inverting amplifier, the inputs were given from a function generator, and one of the inputs was ground. So therefore they are called single-ended signals. One end is ground and the other end we connected to the input of the inverting amplifier or the non-inverting amplifier. This particular circuit is very different, so you need to see that carefully. Here difference amplifier has two inputs, A and B, and we know that the gain from the theory, that since all these resistances are same, the gain is 1. Output will be VB minus VA. Whatever voltage is appearing at B minus whatever voltage is appearing at A, ideally. What we want to show right now is basically for two conditions, one for the common mode, one for the differential. So what I have done here is, right now, initially let's do the common mode performance. So common mode means what we will do is we have shorted A and B and we have connected that to the center point here, which is 6 volt. So ideally what we should get is, you should get a 0 here. That's the common mode. And so what we have here is, on the left side is the differential voltage, which is between A and B. And since it is common mode, what is done is, this particular point A is connected to both A and B. Therefore the voltage appearing there will be about 6 volt. And these resistors we have chosen, so R we have chosen as 470 ohms, and in this particular arm we have chosen 390 ohms and a potentiometer, so that we can vary and show you the differential amplifier performance. So right now you can see that the output, the right side digital multimeter is showing you the output, and the left side is showing you the differential voltage. The differential input voltage is 0 and the output is actually ideally 0, but you can see it's 008. So what is the common mode gain? The common mode gain is the output, which is 0.008 divided by the input, which is 6 volt. So that would be roughly about 10 to the power minus 6, roughly. So that is the common mode gain. Now in this circuit, what is the differential gain? The differential gain is 1. Therefore CMRR is AD by ACM, which will be roughly the order of 10 to the power 3. But if we can adjust this circuit properly, so that the the output is made 0 by satisfying the condition that R4 by R3 is equal to R2 by R1 properly, and we would see that you can make the ACM as small as 0.0, even much less than this. The typical CMRR you will get with 740 on op amp is of the order of 10 to the power 4. So in this particular case, in this experiment, we are able to get a common mode rejection ratio of 10 to the power 3. Now what I am going to do right now is, I am going to connect now A to this particular point, which is already connected. Now I am going to connect point B to this particular point, so that we can see the differential signal appearing. So what you can see is the input, the differential voltage is almost 0, and you can see the output is 0.009. So this is because we have not, we have just taken 4 resistors. We have not done, we have not ensured that they are all exactly same values. We have not done that. But even with that, you can see the output is almost 0. In the third decimal point only there is a difference. Now I want to explain to you how a difference amplifier is different from the other two. So as I told you a few minutes ago, in the case of both inverting amplifier and the non-inverting amplifier, one of the inputs was ground and the other input was the signal. Here both the inputs are with respect to ground. Okay, so typically the signal itself is a differential signal. This kind of signals you typically get from a bridge. Now in the field for the applications of difference amplifier, like typically in the non-electrical engineering departments like civil engineering or mechanical engineering, they would use a strain gauge. For measuring deflection, or especially if you have a cantilever, they would use it to measure displacement, and then they can calculate what is the force applied. So a bridge, so whenever you have a bridge, you need to use a difference amplifier. That's the most important thing. And both A and B, so you get a floating voltage here, important. So right now what I'm going to do, so I'm going to apply, I'm going to change this particular delta R here. So accordingly, let's see what we are going to get at the output. I'm going to change the values. So now you can see on the left side, right now the input is about 0.115 and the output is basically, also same, which is very good. The gain is 1 and we are getting it roughly, and the slight difference, this is because we have not satisfied the condition correctly. Now let me go to slightly higher value. Let me go to let's say 0.4 volt. Let me see, yeah, now we are around 0.4 volt, and you can see the output is very close. Okay, so this differential, mind you, this is a differential. This is across the bridge, because across A and B. Now let me go to 1 volt. So the differential input, let me make it about 1 volt. So now it's about 1 volt, and you can see the output is very closely matching. Let me go to 2 volt. Okay, so let me go to about 2 volts, and maybe that's the maximum I can go with this kind of arrangement. I think the maximum I can get here is 1.8 volt. So differential of 1.8 volt, I am getting almost the same. So this illustrates how a difference amplifier works. In part D, we will use this to measure the VI characteristics of a diode, a Zener diode, and an LED. So this is a very useful circuit whenever you have a bridge and you need to amplify the signal. Now right now I applied a DC here, but instead of this DC, you could have used a sine wave signal here, in which case you would have got a differential, a sinusoidal signal you would have got here. So we will see part D of the experiment, where we will be measuring the VI characteristics of 3 types of diodes. One is a plain diode, one is a Zener diode, one is an LED. So let me explain this circuit. So this is an application of difference amplifier. Now one of the most difficult thing to measure using an oscilloscope is current. So what we have done here is the following. Let's look at the circuit diagram here on the bottom of the screen. So you can see that there is in this particular case a LED is connected through a resistor which is 1 kilo ohm, connected to a source which is a ramp, a triangular waveform, 1 kilohertz, going from -10 volt to 10 volt. So what is going to happen is, this is a diode, this is a LED, this is a LED, therefore it will conduct only during the positive, only when the anode, when it is only during the positive half cycle. So what is going to happen is, when current flows through this, let's say 1 milliamp of current flows through a 1 kilo ohm resistance, you would have 1 volt across this. So what is done by this particular circuit is, this circuit we saw already. This circuit will give you VB minus VA. So if there is 1 milliamp of current flowing here, there will be 1 volt here with plus minus as shown here. So 1 volt you will get at the output 1 volt. So therefore this output voltage we can scale it as milliamp. So the good thing here is this current here, using the difference amplifier, I have converted into a voltage signal. So then now coming to the oscilloscope, the DSO, what we have done here is this for plotting the VI characteristics on the x-axis you need the voltage. So the voltage which is appearing across the diode versus the current flowing through it is what is plotted here. To do this, what is done is the XY mode of the DSO is used here, where channel 1 will be the X, which in our case is the voltage across the diode, and the channel 2 will be the Y-axis, and in our case that is current. So looking at this particular waveform here, so what I have done here is I have connected a normal diode here. You can see this is the same diode which we used in the lab for doing our DC power supply experiment. So when you look at the DSO, you would see that first of all it is not conducting. So this origin is right at the center, and you can see that roughly around 0.6 volt till about 0.6 volt there is no conduction, and then the current shoots up. So you can see that the slope is, the line is almost vertical. Yeah. So now, so this is basically we will see how you plot the VA characteristics of a diode. Now what I am going to do, I am going to change this diode to a LED. So you can see that the LED is now glowing, and the signal is 1 kilohertz, therefore you will not be able to see. So looking at the DSO, you can see once again the LED is conducting only during the positive half cycle, but look at the voltage at which it starts conducting. So the x-axis scale is 1 volt, and you can see roughly around 2 volts, around 1.8 volt it starts conducting. Now LED, the cut-in voltage is a function of the material and also the wavelength. So a red LED which you buy from the market, typically somewhere between 1.5 to 2 volt is the cut-in voltage, which you are able to see that here. Now the negative half cycle, there is no current which you are able to see. So we will see now how to measure the VA characteristics of a Zener diode. So what we have done is we have removed the earlier LED with a Zener diode, but the polarity wise will be same. The cathode of the Zener diode will be at ground, and the anode will be at the top. Now what we are actually plotting is VD, which is the voltage across the Zener diode, and the voltage across is 1 kilo, which at the output of the difference amplifier will give you the current in milliamps. So if you get 1 volt here, that would correspond to 1 milliamp. So let us see what we get on the oscilloscope, on the DSO. So on the DSO, what we have given is a triangular wave which is 20 volt peak to peak. The positive peak will be plus 10 volt, and the negative peak will be minus 10 volt, and it's a triangular wave. So what you see here is the x-axis, which is the V. You can see that during the positive half cycle around 0.8 volt, you see the diode characteristics, and you can see it's almost vertical. So the Zener diode behaves just like a diode in the forward region. Now for a Zener, what we are really interested in is the reverse region, and you can see that so the x-axis in the scale is 1 volt, so 1, 2, 3, and the y-axis, the scale is 2 volt, which means every 1 centimeter is 2 milliamps. So you see that at about 6 milliamps, you see about 3.6 volt, which is the Zener rated voltage. Now there are two important observations you need to make. One is in the forward region, the diode region, it's almost vertical. So still it is not exactly vertical. So the resistance in the forward region for the Zener diode will be the order of about 10 ohms. But in the reverse region, where the Zener region, you can see that the slope is very evident. So the typical kind of resistance you would get would be about 100 ohms. So you would see that using this particular application, we are able to directly get the VI characteristic of a Zener diode.